The British uprising is coming. We will only be gaslit for so long before we say enough. And fuck me, we are being gaslit, right? Like, the idea that Shabana Mahmood, an Islamist, a literal Islamist, who used to welcome illegals onto the shores of the Greek islands, is the woman to crack down on the invasion. Come on! How stupid do they think we are? Indeed, after 24 hours of tough talk, which was designed to trick the cucked MSM, Mahmood, there, look, she's actually admitted. Her plan is to welcome more people into the UK via the so-called safe and legal routes. So as Tommy Robinson raged, and putting them next to you, nowhere near them. They're given priority housing, pushing the natives further down the list, many thousands literally onto the streets. It is all smoke and mirrors as they're dying in the polls. Call a general election now. And worryingly, folk are becoming used to revelations like this. 28 violent criminals and at least one terrorist from Afghanistan have been allowed to live here under the relocation scheme. To hell with that. To hell with that. And it's actually citizen journalism showing what these male invaders, many of whom are rapists and terrorists and murderers, all of whom are criminals by virtue of the fact they've broken into our home. And it's the independent media, the citizen journalists, who are showing what they are getting up to at our expense. So look at this. Migrant party brawls and laughs at your expense inside the camp at the former RAF base in Essex. The Express has reported today, with groups of male asylum seekers at RAF Wethersfield filmed singing and dancing in a common room complete with a disco ball and glitter lights. They're all men. They're all men. Watch this. It's all fun and games, but where are all the vulnerable children and the lovely women? You know, that the left always claim are coming on those boats. Didn't spot any there. Tommy Robinson responded, as the UK government plan a new tax rate on the British public, £10 million a day, housing unvetted migrant men in hotels across our country, veterans sleeping in doorways. This is how the invaders are living at RAF Wethersfield. And he then shared his own video of the breakfast buffet, writing, as Brits are forced to decide between heating or eating this winter. This was RAF Wethersfield yesterday. Fighting age foreign invaders lining up for their taxpayer-funded canteen. And it sure looks yummy. Watch. Good, yeah? 3 meals like that a day, paid for by us, for these criminals. And they are all criminals, by the way, by virtue of the fact that they're here in the first place, to live a life of Riley. But look at what happens when things turn nasty inside RAF Wethersfield.
Calm down, that's it. Calm down, everybody. Yeah, that's it. Yasin! Brother, film. Good, huh?
Yeah, this guy, yeah.
Well, yeah, no eating, no sleeping.
Nah, 이런 거를 왜 하노? 촬영하고.
Funny, still not seeing any women or children. Are you? Maybe they're chained to their beds. I mean, seriously, what happens when those animals are let out on the streets? Well, we know. And of course it is madness that we are paying for this, yet still our elite class, driven by the hard leftists like the tit whisperer Zach Polanski of the Surging Greens, claim that we are in some way in the wrong. Okay, half of you watching this are not subscribed to Dan Wootton Outspoken, and the best way you can support what we do is by hitting that subscribe button. It is completely free, and turn on the notification bell to be alerted to our new episodes.
Every single Labour MP needs to look to their conscience.
Why?
The interview we just heard, you said it yourself. The question was, you never told anyone when they voted they were voting for this. This is extreme, this is inhumane, and it is a government of cowards. Rather than take on the powerful, because the issue here is not immigration, it's inequality. They went for pensioners, they went for the disabled, and now they're going for people who are fleeing war and conflict. I am furious. So many people are furious because this is a totally unconscionable way to deal with things. And how dare the minister say we are an open, tolerant country? How dare she come tonight to Newsnight and talk about compassion at the same time they're talking about seizing people's assets? I am a child of Jewish ancestry. I am Jewish. We have seen this with Nazi Germany. We are seeing it in 2025. This government need to hang their heads in shame.
Okay, you're obviously...
And of course, no anger from someone like Zach Polanski about white British girls being raped in the tens of thousands, yet there is Nazi hysteria building. Because Philip Proudfoot also posted, we've now reached a stage where the Labour government is taking direct policy inspiration from Nazi Germany, prompting Nick Dixon to reply sarcastically, so glad we can finally have a rational discussion about illegal immigration. Labour MP Olivia Blake, I'm sorry if this woman's representing you, by the way, said this.
Really concerned at how inhumane these policies seem to be, and they seem to be painting refugees in particular in such a bad light. The policies that they're bringing forward, you know, they're going to cost huge amounts of money, and for what purpose?
For what purpose, you silly bint? It is to stop criminals, illegals entering our country and then stabbing to death good, honest patriots like Wayne Broadhurst, for example, like Rhiannon White, for example, when they're not even meant to be here in the first place. Is that not enough for you, you utter woke cretin? Colin Brazier responded to Olivia Blake by writing, it will seem outlandish that a Labour MP representing any city in Yorkshire can paint attempts to stem the flow of illegal migrants as cruel. To walk through parts of Sheffield, Rotherham, Hull, Bradford or Leeds is to bear witness to a new dystopia. There's the cruelty. Oh, but that's not how these Labour lunatics like Nadia Whitham think, of course. Indeed, they want to use any opportunity here to raise their bogeyman, Tommy Robinson.
The Denmark-style policies briefed in the last couple of days are dystopian. It's shameful that a Labour government is ripping up the rights and protections of people who have endured unimaginable trauma. Is this how we'd want to be treated if we were fleeing for our lives? Of course not. So how can we be adopting such obviously cruel policies? Is the Home Secretary proud that the government has sunk to such depths that it's now being praised by Tommy Robinson?
Well, Mr. Speaker, look, I'm disappointed at the nature of the question from my honourable friend. I hope she will look at the detail of the reforms. And what I've said already on these matters is that we have a proper problem that it is our moral duty to fix. Our asylum system is broken. The breaking of that asylum system is causing huge division across our whole country. It is a moral mission for me to resolve that division across our country. I know that the reforms I will be setting out later on today can fix this system, and in doing so can unite what is today a divided country.
Dan Hodges responded by writing, the reality is Tommy Robinson and Reform feel cheered by Labour MPs like Nadia Whittome. What scares them are Labour MPs like Shabana Mahmood. But I'm sorry, they shouldn't be. Because as Connor Tomlinson has brilliantly outlined, Mahmood is a mega fake. He responded to her writing, and there it is. Britain's Pakistani Muslim Home Secretary responds to the thousands of foreign criminals crossing the English Channel in dinghies by creating new, safe and legal routes, making it easier for more migrants to enter Britain. Opposition to mass migration is not caused by demographic change, agents lacking the proper paperwork. We don't want more people coming to Britain. We don't want our economy plundered, our culture disfigured, and our towns and cities turned into third world slums. The Hobson's choice is not illegal immigration or importing would-be channel crossers via regular asylum routes. We don't want them here. We can just say no. We can deport the troublesome foreigners already here, and we should. But Shabana Mahmood talks tough only to do the opposite. She cannot be trusted. These reforms bear down on illegal migration. They tackle the factors that draw people onto small boats to make perilous channel crossings. They ensure that we enforce our rules more robustly, returning illegal migrants who have no right to be here. That is all talk, Mahmood. But what's very troublesome to me, and you'll notice no one in the mainstream media is prepared to talk about this, right? But it's true. Our parliament is already being taken over by sectarian interests, with Jonathan Wong pointing out a Bangladeshi Muslim, a Pakistani Muslim, and an Indian Muslim debating which flavour of Muslim should determine the fate of Britain's future demographics. And Lawrence Fox added, I wonder how many British Christians are representatives in any parliament in any Islamic nation. Any of the staggeringly small number of Islamic states which function under the illusion of democracy, obviously. And that was in reference to this moment in Parliament where Mahmood was taking questions from some of the sectarians in our Parliament. Watch.
Families after they've resettled here because their country is deemed safe is simply wrong. Could the Home Secretary tell us how the government determines what a safe country is, and will she publish the criteria? And given that she mentioned the DRC earlier, is she really saying it is a safe country over there? And will she also publish all existing returns agreements so that members of this House and indeed the British public can properly scrutinise them? I have done the reading and it's not in the detail.
Home Secretary.
Well, we already do safe country reviews, so we would seek to continue that. They are publicly available in terms of our position on different countries, and in fact mostly pass through secondary legislation in this House.
Given the UK's historical and ongoing involvement in unlawful military interventions alongside allies such as the United States and Israel, how does the Home Secretary assess the correlation between these foreign policy actions and wars and the displacement of populations resulting in increased numbers of refugees and asylum seekers arriving in the UK? And what steps will her government make toward proactive peace-building initiatives and the restoration of overseas humanitarian aid, which could address the root causes of displacement and reduce the long-term pressures on our asylum system?
Secretary.
Well, the government always plays its full part in peace processes wherever we can. We put our shoulder to the wheel on the delicate and diplomatic efforts that are required to bring conflicts to an end.
So yes, we have a problem. We do have a problem with sectarianism coming to Westminster and with Islamism clearly taking over politics of the left. Yet so-called patriotic publications like Unheard, owned by Paul Marshall, the bloke behind GB News and The Spectator, are actually running headlines this week on whether Reform UK is going too Christian. as Lawrence Fox pointed out. Just imagine if the headline was, "Is Parliament too Islamic?" Yet, of course, our police remain far too focused on what they believe is an easy win for them. Islamophobia, right? Islamophobic thought crimes. I mean, I don't even believe in the word. It's a term made up by the Muslim Brotherhood. But you might remember Ryan Williams. He's the very controversial anti-Muslim campaigner who caused a shitstorm down under over this appearance on Rupert Murdoch's Sky News Australia. But first, by the age of 50, we've likely lost half our collagen, opening the door to aching joints, brittle bones, and tired-looking skin that ages you before your time. But there's hope. Native Path collagen peptides are helping millions refill that gap. And here's what sets Native Path apart. Just one clean ingredient. Third-party tested for heavy metals and purity. No fillers, no junk, over 5 million jars sold, and 8,000 five-star reviews. I think that says it works, right? Native Path customers are reporting stronger, more flexible joints, finally moving without pain, smoother, more youthful skin that turns back the clock, and thicker, fuller hair in as little as 14 days. Imagine waking up, feeling like yourself again, active, confident, and pain-free. Right now, visit trynativepath.com/outspoken for a special bundle deal at a fraction of the retail price, backed by a risk-free 365-day guarantee.
We have a food industry that knows nothing about health and a health industry that knows nothing about food, right? And once you really understand that, you can see why we're in the problems that we are. We watch TV and they're feeding us all these foods that are refined and processed and get us sick. And the next commercial is a commercial about a pill that we're supposed to take. The forefront of what we do here at Native Path is we try to get people off the path of what most people are doing is eating that stuff and taking those pills and get them on the path to eating, moving, and living in harmony with their biology. Collagen is, in my opinion, it's the one thing that if you take it, everything else starts to get easier or unnecessary because it's so foundational in the structure of your body. We're deficient in this very important protein that our ancestors got plenty of. So it's a big part of what I say is important when we're aging. You have to have this as part of your diet.
But act now, supply is tight and demand is soaring. This deal won't last long. Don't let another day go by feeling older than you look. Visit trynativepath.com/outspoken today, or just click on the link below this video in the description box. But now, back to the show.
Well, I mean, the reason I've got bacon on my shoulders is because the terrorists are a charming lot and they threaten to behead me every single day. So a little bit of protection. But I've got to say, you know, I'm from the UK. We have the threat nearly every single day from Islam invasion. Our second biggest city, Birmingham, is already majority Muslim. Our mayor of London is Muslim. And the new Home Secretary, Shabana Mahmood, is Muslim. And I just have a very clear, simple message to Muslims, which is stop worshipping a pedo warlord who's a Bonnie Blue of the 7th century, sleeping with 30 Al Zoot men, who married a six-year-old and slept with a 9-year-old. And there's only one culture that pours acid on women's faces. There's only one culture that makes women cover their faces so other men don't rape them.
Been told we do have to apologise for what was just aired, those comments earlier.
Well, you can imagine how the left reacted to that. And Sky News Australia folded like TV News does these days, like Talk TV does these days. They not only booted that guest off air, they axed the show altogether because he was allowed to express his view in a sort of funny way about some of the horrors of Islam. Well, this week, he actually returned, Ryan Williams returned to the UK and was arrested and charged with terrorism offences upon landing at Heathrow Airport. You won't have heard about this in the mainstream media, but watch.
Ryan, what's going on? Can I go with them in front? Why is that? What's going on here? They let you out?
Yeah, but look, terrorism, Schedule 7.
But what did you actually do for them to suspect that?
They said it's because of my social media posts.
They can take the Sharia law and shove it.
There's only one culture that pours acid on women's faces.
So yeah,
Against mass migration and Islam?
Exactly. So I had to give them all my passwords for my phone, all my passwords for my social media, all my laptop. They've taken all my phone's laptop, everything, banking, everything. I was saying the truth that Prophet Muhammad slept with a 9-year-old and married a 6-year-old, which makes him a pedophile. So that's what I was saying. And now I'm getting investigated for terrorism. This is way worse than I could ever have thought. I thought I'd just be a normal criminal, like being done for hate speech, but I don't want to get done for being a terrorist. That's something different. So
I mean, the consequences are more severe.
yeah, well, if I go to jail for being a terrorist, that's a lot worse than just hate speech.
As Eddie 43211 just said in our live chat, this is Tommy all over again. And it is ludicrous overreach. It totally impinges on our free speech, on our right to do journalism. But as I said, completely ignored by the regime media, who has decided that this bloke is beyond the pale. Instead, an actual political party, the loser Liberal Democrats, are gaining momentum, having launched yet another campaign to see GB News shut down. This time for running an analysis of people with foreign-sounding names. Watch.
GB News, yes, them again, has aired a segment so reckless it's hard to believe it made the broadcast.
This is exclusive analysis is shared with GB News tonight, and the results are genuinely shocking, using methodology based on non-British sounding surnames.
And how were these numbers gathered? With someone turning up to court to count names which didn't sound British enough. That's it. No credible data, no verification, just racism dressed up as analysis. This is outrageous. It risks stirring up hatred and stoking division among communities who are part of the fabric of Britain. Even the presenters admitted their research was flawed, and yet GB News still chose to broadcast it. If this doesn't breach Ofcom's broadcasting code, which says the views and facts must not be misrepresented, then what does? So yes, we're calling for Ofcom to launch an investigation and take serious action into people who would peddle such fake news. Spreading misinformation on national TV is dangerous, and we can't let it go unchecked. We Liberal Democrats will stand up against populist lies wherever we find them, because we cannot let Trump's America become Farage's Great Britain.
I mean, this is clown world territory, and it is the reason we are screwed. But now, Carol McGiffin is here. McGiff, goodness gracious me. So those scenes within RAF Wethersfield are absolutely infuriating. They're causing this uprising. And of course, everything that Shabana Mahmood is claiming she's going to do. And I'm going to stop this at all. Like, the fact that she is closing down the hotels and moving people into air bases like this, look, it's still a luxury way of living. These absolute criminals are still being given total freedom to wander around the local areas. I mean, it's not being treated in any way as if they are imprisoned. And I just think when you look at scenes like this, McGiff, no wonder the British people are starting to say enough.
The British people have been saying enough for, years now.
Six decades?
At least. Whenever it first started, which was too long ago. I mean, this sort of footage, I mean, where did this footage come from? I always ask that question because it's obvious that they want you to see it. Whoever's put it out there has put it out there not because it's like, we need to stop the boats coming in and this will stop them because people will get more angry. They want you to see it because it's a massive, massive wind up. And the fact that Tommy Robinson gets so aerated about it is, I don't really understand it, because what does he think? What do people think goes on in those places? You can see them when they come off the boat sometimes, waving and clapping and putting their thumbs up and look, isn't it wonderful? We made it. They're celebrating openly when they're supposed to be fleeing persecution and war. I mean, it's so ridiculous. Every single part of it is ridiculous, and it's been going on for so long. And for any MP, it doesn't matter which party it is, to say we're going to stop the boats and this is what we're going to do. We're going to have a hard line like Denmark and we're going to send people back. Well, okay, how are you going to find them? Where are they? How are you going to pick them up and send them back? You can't. It almost leaves me speechless every single time. Every single time you see all this, and it keeps on coming out and nothing ever gets done. And like I've said before, the government are organising this. They've got to make it look like they give a shit and like they're going to do something. But of course they don't. This is all part of some massive plan. And who
100%.
knows where it's going to lead?
100%. And I mean, look, Shabana Mahmood, so she basically cosplays Carol. Okay, so for 24 hours, she cosplays as a hardliner, totally suckers in the right-wing MSM in the UK. Like the Daily Telegraph are running columns saying, oh, this woman's good. It's like, are you insane? She is absolutely part of the plan. She is absolutely part of the Islamist takeover. And sure enough, you know, there is the post, more safe and legal routes are coming, you know, which is, so it's like, it's more.
There already are safe and legal routes. It's called legal immigration. It's like applying for visas and doing what people do when they want to bring a spouse to the UK or whatever. And I know people who have done this. It costs a lot of money to do that. That's a safe and legal route. And at the moment, that's the only route that should be allowed, because these people, 99.9% of them are not fleeing any war or persecution. Doesn't matter what any of those MPs inside the Houses of Parliament say, they're not. This is not cruel. This is not inhuman. They shouldn't be here in the first place. They talk about, you know, lists of safe countries. Is France on the list? I bet it is, because it's a really safe country. And yet this is where they're all coming from. I mean, it beggars belief that anybody takes it seriously. And especially, you know, it doesn't matter if it's the right wing MSM or the left wing or, you know, commentators or politicians or anybody. The fact that anyone even questions it, it's all just, it's just bollocks.
I know, and Carol, then the person they are arresting as they enter the country is not those rapists, you know, not those terrorists from Afghanistan, you know, provably terrorists, by the way. They're not being arrested. It's this guy. It's Ryan Williams, you know, a British citizen who, yep, he's pretty spicy, but, you know, in my view, he's spitting facts and, you know, maybe he's doing so in a way that offends some people, but he's arrested under the same terrorism legislation that they tried to convict Tommy Robinson on and failed. I mean, and I think the terrible thing is, Carol, he clearly, in order to get released, having seen what's happened to Tommy Robinson, did hand over his phone. Well, I'm sorry, I wouldn't, you know, this is chilling.
No, I wouldn't. And I would have, I mean, surely he knows about the precedents been set by Tommy Robinson, the fact that he didn't hand over his phone. But I think that's why he was accused of being a terrorist, though, wasn't it? Because he wouldn't hand over his passwords.
Yes, and of course he did. I mean, look, yes, he was cleared by the judge, but the state, the deep state, the police put him on trial. You know, the case cost hundreds of thousands of pounds. Tommy was obviously supported by Elon Musk, which was a brilliant thing for Musk to do. But, you know, Ryan Williams is probably thinking, well, what? I face bankruptcy or I hand over my phone. I mean, it's just Sophie's choice.
Yeah, and he's right. I mean, it wouldn't be a good idea to be convicted of terrorism in for anything. But how are they allowed to arrest people for terrorism on such stupid, trumped-up charges? He's not walking into the country with a bomb on his back or anything like that, is he? He's talking about Islam in, you know, like you say.
We have no blasphemy law.
It's so unbelievable. This law must have changed quite recently, because they're
just changing the interpretation of it, though, aren't they? I mean, this is what sickens me. You know, we're told constantly we don't have a blasphemy law in this country. They're looking at bringing in a definition of Islamophobia, clearly to shut people like him down, shut people like me down, shut people like Tommy Robinson down. But at this point, as it stands, there is no blasphemy law. So they're using trumped up terrorism charges. I mean, to me, it is one of the most shocking things that has happened. But of course, Carol, no coverage of it. It's like they pick and choose, don't they? So like Graham Linehan, who, do you remember, he was completely ignored and shunned by the MSM for years. But the Overton window has shifted enough, thanks to people like J.K. Rowling, that all of a sudden when he was arrested at Heathrow, okay, no, the MSM are going to go in on this one. It's a story now. Graham Linehan's almost acceptable again. But they don't actually care about the overall, which is that it doesn't matter if what the person is saying might be offensive to you, GB News or the Daily Telegraph might sit outside your Overton window. The point is the same principle applies, and you should be just as outraged about the arrest of Ryan Williams as you were the arrest of Graham Linehan, but they're not, because they look at him. It's a bit like the case with Alex Belfield, they look at the guy and they think, oh, he's a bit unpalatable, so we're just going to ignore that it's going on.
Yeah, they don't want to be on that side. They don't want to be seen to be defending him because, God knows what will happen to anyone who does.
100%, but you're not defending him, are you? You're defending the concept of him being allowed to speak out against Islam. But no, you're completely right. That's how they view it.
Exactly. It's criminalising speech. It's criminalising thought. It seems to be getting worse and worse. It's like, with the online safety bill, it's like, there's certain things that you can't say and people don't say, and they self-censor all the time now because they changed that law. They brought that law in, or that bill. And I've never read the bill. I know if I read it, I would probably have a coronary or something because it would just wind me up so much. And it's unjust. It's not justified, and it shouldn't be allowed. You shouldn't be. And I know we're going to talk about Mike Graham, but you were talking to him yesterday, and they are literally criminalising and shutting down opinion and free speech.
Yes, they are.
And anyone who dares to say what they actually think these days really are walking a tightrope, because they'll come for you. They'll come for people like that Ryan. They'll come for you.
100% they will.
Thank you so much for watching Dan Wootton Outspoken. Please click on my face just to the bottom left to subscribe to this brand new independent news source and turn on the notification bell so you'll be alerted to our brand new live shows, uncancelled interviews and special royal episodes. Outspoken is also now available as a podcast, so you can listen to the show every weekday on the go wherever you are.